Okay, so earlier today I went down to my friend Dave's house. So I'll give you a little bit of backstory. About a couple of weeks ago, my friend's expensive computer was started overheating and shutting down. The graphics display went off, it went blank, so he had no video on his computer. He was panicking a bit because he thought his graphics card had failed. Well, obviously anyone would panic with that situation. So I went down. We had because the graphics card fans, they're proprietary. They're not conventional. You can't just go online and buy a replacement fan for a lot of these graphics cards, because some of them are, well, you just can't get them, the parts. Basically you have to buy a whole card, a video card. And it's he actually got his machine built for him about, what was it, must be 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I'm not sure, but it was an expensive build. It cost nearly, I think it was nearly £1,000 to actually have this machine built, because it was, I think I've spoken about this before in previous videos. His machine is just lightning fast. It's really, really fast. Just to give an example, when I installed Windows Office, was it 2008? When I installed Windows Office 2008 on my computer, it took like, what was it, 30 minutes or 40 minutes? Nearly an hour it took me to install it. He has solid state drives on his computer, solid state, and the throughput, that is the amount of data that moves through the CPU and through his memory and through all of the motherboard and everything, is really fast. And I actually couldn't believe it when we installed Office, the same version of Office on his computer. It took 6 seconds. 6 seconds or something like that. It was a case of, what happened? Did something go wrong? What did it fail to install? It was a case of, what is happening here? It took me an hour, maybe, was it 45 minutes or an hour? We went through the menu like normal, selecting all the various features, Office Word, Office Outlook, Office, all the different features that you select. And we basically selected them all on his machine, just like I did on mine. But it was just that fast, right? So I just couldn't believe how fast it was. So obviously he was a bit upset when his graphics card failed, because it's a nice machine. Even though it's getting old, it's still fast, right? It's faster than mine anyway. So anyway, I went up there a couple of weeks ago to try and figure out what had gone wrong with his card. And it turns out both the GPU fans had frozen up. They were completely jammed solid. The lubrication in the fans, the oil or the grease in the fan bearings had just dried out, and the fans wouldn't hardly turn. If you flicked them with your finger, they'd just stop dead. They wouldn't even move. They wouldn't free spin at all. So anyway, I went up there and I squirted some WD-40 in the fans, because it doesn't do any harm to the graphics card, because you can use it on electronics. And we got the fans to rotate again, and they were spinning freely, and we thought, oh great, it's all okay and normal again. But WD-40 has a quick evaporation time where it doesn't last very long, and 2 weeks later the fans had seized up again. Right, so the problem was getting these fans apart. is not an easy job because I think they're pressed on basically, they're pressed fitted, and I was worried about prizing the fans off to get to the bearings because there's a high risk of breaking the fan itself. Some people actually unscrew the screws that are below the fan and take the whole assembly out, but we had a problem because the wires are too short. They're extremely short, and his particular graphics card, the wires are tucked in and they're clamped behind the heatsink. To get to the actual fans properly, you would have to dismantle the whole thing. And I thought, well, there must be a quicker way of getting to this to repair it rather than dismantling the whole card, because it is a bit of a task. So I came up with a simple solution, and it seems to have worked. And the first thing you've got to do, though, is soak the fan with WD-40. The reason for that is it loosens up any glue or any residual dried up grease on the fan, so that when you pop the blades off, which is what I basically did, they release without any damage. So this is what I needed to put an amendment into this video, is I sprayed the fan down with WD-40. We spun them to make sure they're all free and running okay. And then the next step is to prise the fan and the bearing out of its socket. Now, at first I thought I'd broken it because the whole electronic board and the fan came out, and it left just the bearing stud sticking out, which goes into a brass bushing, which is the bearing part. And that was it looked like the way the board was, it was glued into the actual back plate. The actual circuit board was like, it's like on a little ring. There's like a circuit board, and it's pushed onto this little, like a hub thing. Now, so when you see me on the videos that come up following, you'll see I use two knives, blunt, very blunt. You use blunt knives simply because you don't want to accidentally cut any electronic components, and you want to make sure you get the blades behind behind the circuit board and behind the fan blades. Anyway, it worked out. It came, as you'll see in the following video. I did a quick follow-up video showing them working. They were all working fine. I also saw some videos online where people were drilling holes in the freaking thing. I'm thinking, no. I mean, that is butchering, really. That's butchery. I mean, drilling holes in the damn thing. I mean, you see, the problem with using the oil is it dries out. Like machine oil, doesn't last. It turns into glue after a couple of years. It dries out, and you end up with the same problem again. What you have to do, bear in mind that these fans, they get pretty hot because of the heat from the heat sink. So you can use high melting point grease, which is perfect because the fans generally don't need to do any work until they get hot anyway, until the heatsink gets hot. And the heat will make the grease a lighter viscosity. So when the grease is a lighter, thinner viscosity, it will lubricate perfectly. Now, having done the repair, I was told by Dave that the speeds, he's never seen the speeds as good as what they are now. I think he said he was getting 2,200 something, 2,238 something RPM on the fan's speed now, and his temperatures were like 34 degrees centigrade, which was about 2 degrees above his CPU. So yeah, that is good. So anyway, as I say, I don't want to claim that this is the right way. I'm not claiming that this is the right way to fix the fans, but it's a way that worked out for us. It worked, and it's working fine so far. So obviously we'll probably have to give you an update in the comment section or in the description in a few weeks time to let you know if it's still all good and everything. But there was no issues with timing. I don't know if there's an opto isolator on that board or anything. Everything seems to be perfect. The fan's running at full speed now. And I only used a small amount of grease in the bearing hole, which in the brass bushing where the bearing shaft goes in, and it was about less than a pea size, actually a small amount of grease on the end of my screwdriver. You can actually see in the video coming up. So anyway, I hope you learned something. It's always handy to know of the simplest ways of repairing graphics cards, because they are quite complex and everyone panics and worries that they're going to break them or damage them. But if you're careful, what you've got to do is you've got to wiggle the knives. You've got to put back pressure on the fan blade lifting up, and you've got to wiggle them left and right until it pops off. And it came off easy. And it was easy enough to push them back in again as well. So I'm at my friend Dave's and his fan seized up. So there's a lot of YouTubers who have been basically drilling holes in the fans. Well, there's an easy way to get these fans apart. Let me show you. Can you hold the phone for me, Dave? Oh, doesn't matter. Well, I just want to... Okay. You can't? Oh. Okay, the easiest way to do it, to get these fans out, to lubricate them, right, I'm going to stick my phone there. You get two blunt knives. This is MSI twin, what was it, Frunz 2. So the way I'm doing it is, get these two knives, you very gently put the blunt side towards the fan at the back of the fan, and equal pressure on both sides. You just up against the fan, you wiggle the fan until it pops out like that, and then you can get access to the bearing underneath. So I'm looking at my video. That's how we get to the actual bearing, and we can just shit, I knocked my phone off. Uh-oh. Right, so hang on, which way around am I? Uh-oh. So it's upside down now. Right, so then we get some WD-40. I'm always dropping things. We'll get the light on it because it's hard to see. Oh, can I turn the light on here? Yeah, let's try that. Right, the light on my phone works. So we get to look inside. You can see the bearing. I'm trying to hold this down phone now, it's difficult. I should have brought my tripod, but I didn't realise I was going to film it. Right, so get some WD-40. Won't do any harm to the electronics because it's electrical, it's safe. And we squirt the bearing. Wash the bearing out, get a cotton bud and clean that out. And then we're going to put some grease in the bearing, because grease does not dry out like oil. Oil will dry out after 2 or 3 years, and then you'll be back to square one again. So let's see. So this is, I've got some grease in this tube. It's basic engine grease. Get a cotton bud. We're just going to mop up the... We can't get it right into the bearing because the wires are so big and small on these fans. You can't get the fans out of the way really. So what I've got to do is bend the end of this cotton bud. If you look, there's already crap on the end of it. So I'm going to thin this cotton wool out. So take some of the cotton wool off. Right. and then bend it, the cotton bud, so we can get into that hole. Oh, you can't see now. Right, so we're going to go in the hole because the electronics or circuit board is down there. We don't want to damage anything on there. We already flushed it out with WD-40. If I can get the damn cotton bud in the hole, which is too big actually at the moment. Too much cotton wool on the end. Okay. Right, so now let's try again. Right, it's in the hole. Now we just rub it about like this. We just always do squirt some WD-40 on it. Just clean out the bearing. Get rid of any dried crap that's in there. There we go. Look at all this shit that's come out. Right, now we can put some fresh grease in. So I've got some grease in this tube. I didn't want to bring the whole grease tub, so I brought just a little bit. Oop! I don't want to get all over the place. So there's a bit of grease in there, look. So I'll get some grease on the end of my screwdriver like this. Move that out of the way so I get my hands all over it. And we're going to poke it. It's not focusing. Focus camera. We'll just stick it in the hole. And that bearing should last at least 5 or 6 years now. The fans should run for 5 or 6 years now, that is. Right, and now we just put this back on. Squeeze. Good as new. I've done but this one earlier, so they're all done now. And I'm sure Dave's going to be screaming at me in 3 weeks' time if I'd screwed up, but I'm pretty sure it's going to work. So that's how we do it. So his machine, it's top of the range. Look how much memory he's got in it. How many is that, Dave? 8 gigabyte? No, 16 gigabyte.
32.
32 gigabytes of memory in there. Wow. So that's Dave's machine. Oh yeah, we cleaned it out last time I came actually, so we had to make a revisit because of the we used WD-40 on the fans 3 weeks ago, was it? 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, and it lasted for a fortnight, which is not enough. But now the grease is in there, it should keep it from drying out, because this grease, it stays like that for years. It doesn't dry out like oil. Oil has a tendency to evaporate and it turns into glue, because it leaves like a shell, like a shellac type material behind. I think that's the right name, isn't it? It's like a crusty skin. It leaves in the fan and it just stops the blades from going, but the grease won't dry out because it's high melting point grease. So obviously when the heat sinks get hot, this fan's going to get hot too, so the grease is going to melt, so it's going to be perfect. Well, they don't come on until it gets hot anyway. So anyway, I'll stop the video. That's it. Thanks for watching. So after doing the repair, as you can see, both fans are running perfectly. Yeah. Bye for now.